don't miss the important thing. There are many things in life that are important, and then there are many things in life that don't matter all that much. There are things that should be important to us, and there are many things that we really don't need to spend all that much time on. There are some things that should be important to you and some things that shouldn't. Oftentimes, many of us get mixed up about what matters and what doesn't. Many times, the very things that don't matter become of great importance, and the things that should not matter all that much, Thanksgiving, they backed it up, things that don't matter become sometimes too important, and some things that don't matter, that do matter, aren't that important at all. You understand what I'm saying? We make sometimes that thing's a little thing, but we make it a big thing. And then sometimes a big thing, we act like it's a little thing. People have a tendency to get confused about what matters and what doesn't. Having the latest fashions and designer clothes isn't all that important. But having a relationship with the master designer and having his name on your soul, now that really is important. Now, riding in the latest car isn't all that important if you're getting from A to B. But living righteous and acting right does matter when you're walking in this journey called life. How you treat people is important. How you talk, how you carry yourself, pay your bills, do in school, work hard, all that is important. How you live when no one else is looking, that's really important. How you treat your children is important. How you think is important. How you act at home when nobody's looking, that's important. How you treat people that are close to you and people that aren't that close to you is real important. How you treat strangers is important. How you respond to what God has done for you is extremely important. How you live for the Lord, that's extremely important. How you pray, how often you pray, it really matters. How you worship matters. Don't get it twisted. Your relationship with God matters and is extremely important. How you see God and how you see yourself in relationship to God really matters. Well, let me just move on today. Let's go right into the text. In our text today, we encounter people who knew what was important and people who were confused about the things that weren't really all that important at all. There's some folk in this text that won't miss the important thing, and then there are some folk in this text that miss the important thing. And beloved, in your life, you don't want to miss the important things. You don't want to be so concerned about wearing the newest J's and you forget about getting A's on your report card. You don't want to be so concerned about the latest hairstyles and you don't know your history and where you came from. There's some stuff that is real important. You want to make sure you got your priorities straight. You want to make sure you got your things in order. And I think that's always going to be the issue, whether you're a young person or an older person, that we're always going to be struggling about making sure we're putting the important things first and the not so important things a distant second. And so we've got to make sure that we find ourselves like some of these people in the text, recognizing the important things. And for our lesson today, the things of the Lord become extremely important. And in this text, someone sees that and recognizes it and gives it great honor and great importance in their lives, where somebody misses it altogether. You don't want to be the person that misses it. So let's take a look, let's take a stroll, let's take a walk through this text. The text takes place at the house of a Pharisee. We find out later his name is Simon or Simeon, however you want to phrase it. Now, he was a Pharisee. This was a person that was supposed to be well versed in the laws and the rules and the regulations of God. A Pharisee was a person who prided themselves, matter of factly, on knowing the difference between what was important, supposedly, and what wasn't important. As a matter of fact, they would spend their life studying and memorizing various rules of life, various laws, so they may know and able and to teach what was important and what wasn't important. Now, if we were looking for a person who should know what's important and what we should be concerned about, Simon the Pharisee, he should be somebody who knows what's important. But how many of you know sometimes the folk that are supposed to know what's important, okay, I'm not going to get any amens, sometimes the folk who are supposed to know what's important are sometimes focusing on the wrong thing. And that's why we as adults have to be careful in front of our children about making some things priorities that aren't really those priorities. Now, the kids should have said amen on that, but I'll keep on preaching. There's too oftentimes the adults put stuff that is priority when it's really not that big of a deal. And we've got to be careful because we will set a pattern in our children. It bothers me sometimes as a school teacher that some of my children come in dressed to the nines but don't know their ABCs. They got everything matching, but they don't know how to multiply their facts. I get a little concerned that there was a lot of effort going on in how they were matching that day, but not a lot of effort going on in making sure they understand their algebra and their equations. I'm a little concerned when the kids know all this music to the trap music and can name all the songs, but they really don't know their history and where they came from. And they may know the code of the street, but they don't know anything about black codes. They don't know anything about Jim Crow. They don't know anything about mass incarceration. And that scares me because they don't know that the very trap music is the same black codes and Jim Crow that's been enslaving our people all these days. There's some things that are important, and there's some things that aren't important, and we've got to make sure that we're in check. And so this Pharisee Simon, he's supposed to be somebody who knows what's important. But he let you know that maybe he doesn't. Let's read a little further. The text says that one of the Pharisees here, he has invited Christ to come to dinner. It starts off like that. We know it's Simon. We know he's a Pharisee. We know what he's supposed to know. We know who he is. We know it's the setting is at the house. And what has he done? He's invited Christ to the house. And that's not a bad thing. If there was anyone that should get on the invitation list, Christ is a good one to invite. That's not a bad thing. He should be there. It would seem initially, and I underline initially, that this Pharisee was concerned about things and people that were important because he invites Christ, and Christ is important. So it seemed like he put the right person on the guest list. Jesus was important, so it's good to have him there. Don't miss that. He should be there. One can invite many people into their lives, but you should at least make sure that Jesus has been invited into your life. Jesus gets an invitation to the house, but can I make my first point? Underline this. You're not going to care. What is important is that, look, you invite Jesus into your life, check this out, so that he might change you, not so that you want him to co-sign on your behavior. I will argue here in this text that Jesus does get the invitation, but the invitation doesn't come so that he might get changed. The invitation comes so that Jesus can co-sign and maybe affirm what Simeon is already doing. I do not believe Simeon invited Christ so that Simon or Simeon could be changed. I think he was trying to change the Lord. And too oftentimes we don't really invite Christ in our lives so that we might change. We just want to, okay, y'all not ready, okay.